For 2 years, the silence surrounding Dylan Wang and Bai Lu grew so heavy that it became its own kind of phenomenon, an invisible wall of mystery that fans could neither break nor ignore. Every award show where they avoided eye contact became a viral clip. Every airport photo taken within the same 24 hours sparked entire conspiracy theories. Every behind-the-scenes video from their drama was dissected to the millisecond. The more quiet they were, the louder the speculation became. Their names were glued together in searches across Asia, yet the truth remained locked behind a silence that felt almost deliberate. And perhaps, as tonight revealed, it always was. The moment the two stars stepped onto the stage for an unscheduled late-night press gathering in Shanghai, even the air felt electric. Under the warm lights, Bai Lu in a simple ivory dress and Dylan in a black suit looked calm at first glance, but the tremor in Dylan's fingers as he adjusted the microphone betrayed something more fragile beneath the surface. Reporters sensed it immediately. Whatever they were about to confess wasn't a small clarification. It was something that weighed unbearably on both of them. And when Dylan cleared his throat, the entire room fell silent, as if bracing for a storm. "Tonight," he began, his voice low, "we want to talk about something we should have spoken about a long time ago." Beside him, Bai Lu lowered her gaze for a second, her hands clasped tightly together. It was a small gesture, but in a moment charged with tension, it spoke volumes. Reporters leaned forward. Fans watching the live stream held their breath. Everyone was waiting for a revelation, just not the one they eventually received. Dylan continued speaking with a stiffness that betrayed his nerves. "There have been countless rumors. Some funny, some cruel, some nearly correct. But the hardest part these 2 years wasn't the rumors themselves, it was staying silent while people wrote stories for us." He exhaled shakily, and for the first time, every observer felt the weight he had been carrying. Bai Lu finally raised her head, her voice controlled but soft. "People said we hated each other, that we couldn't stand to be in the same room, that we were forced to avoid each other in public. Some even said we had a falling out so serious we would never work together again." She paused, her eyes glistening. "None of that was true, but we couldn't correct it. Not then." Reporters erupted with questions, but Dylan gently raised his hand to quiet them. "We know the silence confused everyone," he admitted, "but we didn't stay silent because we didn't care. We stayed silent because the truth was something we weren't ready to reveal." His voice faltered slightly on the last words, and the tension in the room tightened. A journalist from a Shanghai entertainment outlet shouted, "What truth? Did something happen between you two during filming?" Dylan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached slowly into the inside pocket of his jacket. The movement caused a wave of murmurs. Some thought he might pull out documents, others a statement prepared by management. But when he unfolded the small, slightly wrinkled paper, confusion rippled through the crowd. It wasn't a press statement. It was a handwritten letter. "This," he said quietly, "is the first letter Bai Lu ever wrote to me. She slipped it into my script during filming. She never knew I found it until months later." He swallowed hard before reading aloud. "Even if the world misunderstands us, even if we cannot say anything out loud, I hope you know I care about you." Bai Lu inhaled sharply, clearly caught off guard, and for a moment she looked as though her entire body had frozen. "Why would you read that publicly?" she whispered, her voice trembling despite her attempt to appear calm. Dylan let out a strained laugh, though his eyes were glassy. "Because hiding this has only been hurting us. I'm tired of pretending we were just colleagues who drifted apart." The vulnerability in his voice was so raw that even the most seasoned reporters hesitated. It was no longer a press conference. It was a confession, one that had been buried under 2 years of fear. Bai Lu turned slightly toward him, her eyes softening but still clouded with hesitation. We were afraid, she admitted quietly. Afraid of backlash, afraid of disappointing fans, afraid of damaging our careers, afraid of this. She gestured toward the cameras, the lights, the thousands of eyes watching and judging. We didn't hide because there was something wrong. We hid because what we had was too precious to risk. Chaos finally broke loose among reporters, but one voice rose above the noise. So, what exactly are you telling us? What was the real reason for 2 years of silence? The question hung in the air like a blade. Dylan turned fully toward Bailu, and for the first time in the entire event, they looked at each other without fear, without hesitation, and without hiding. Bailu gave him a small nod, subtle but full of meaning. Dylan interlaced her fingers slowly, deliberately, choosing transparency over every consequence he had once feared. And then, together, they finally said the words that detonated across the entire entertainment world. We have been dating for 2 years. The hall erupted instantly. Shouts, gasps, frantic camera flashes, reporters scrambling to shout new questions. Some fans watching the live stream burst into tears, others screamed in disbelief, and within seconds, social media crashed under the surge of reactions. Bailu squeezed Dylan's hand, her own tears falling freely now. "We didn't want to lie," she said with a trembling smile. "We just wanted to protect each other until we were ready." Dylan nodded, wiping his face shamelessly. "And tonight," he said softly, "we're finally brave enough to stop hiding." The room was a storm of noise, but the two of them stood together at the center of it, like a calm in the chaos. No longer co-stars trapped by rumors, no longer two people defined by silence, but a couple finally choosing honesty over fear. After 2 years of unanswered questions, Dylan Wang and Bailu didn't reveal a breakup, a scandal, or a conflict as many had predicted. Instead, they revealed something far rarer in the industry, a love story quietly nurtured in the shadows, now ready to step into the light. In just a few words, they didn't only break their silence, they broke the internet, and Asia may never stop talking about this night. Even after the explosive confession, the atmosphere in the press hall refused to settle down. Reporters were still trying to process what they had just heard, while fans online flooded the chat with disbelief, joy, and emotional breakdowns. Yet Dylan and Bailu remained standing hand in hand, refusing to let go even for a second, as if the act of holding each other anchored them through the overwhelming moment. One foreign reporter bravely raised a question that cut straight into everyone's curiosity. When exactly did you realize your feelings for each other? The two exchanged a look, one so full of private history that the air seemed to still again. Bailu bit her lower lip before confessing, "It started quietly, during filming when he took care of everyone except himself. I pretended not to notice, but I did." Dylan laughed under his breath, a sound that softened the tension. "And I fell for her the moment she scolded me for not eating properly." The hall broke into astonished laughter, but beneath the humor was something unmistakably sincere. Their love at first argument confession only amplified the feeling that this revelation was not a publicity stunt, not a forced announcement, but a truth they had been protecting with every breath. As the conference continued, more layers of their 2 year secret slowly unraveled. Dylan admitted that there were moments he wanted to make the relationship public earlier, but held back out of fear for her safety and peace. "The industry can be harsh," he said, voice steady but filled with unspoken memories. "Every time a rumor came up, I wanted to tell everyone she was important to me, but I didn't want her to become a target." Bailu turned toward him and touched his arm gently, her expression softening, and any one detail in her facial expression reveals a depth of emotion that reporters caught instantly. It was the kind of emotion that could not be rehearsed or faked. "We fought about it," she admitted quietly. "We argued a lot in private about when to speak, how to speak, whether we should speak